Hands behind your back. Now! Officer Greg Mathers barked, shoving the young woman against the hood of his squad car. Jada Williams gasped, her heart pounding as her cheek pressed against the scorching metal of the police vehicle. She had just stepped out of a small bookstore in downtown Chicago when the officer charged at her, yanking her arms behind her back with unnecessary force. What did I do?" she stammered, wincing as the cuffs bit into her wrists. Mathers sneered. "Don't play dumb. You match the description of a suspect. Dark hoodie, jeans, black female, mid-20s. That sound familiar?" Jada's stomach clenched. This couldn't be happening. She was a law-abiding citizen, a college student, and had never even gotten a parking ticket. "I was just buying books," she protested, struggling slightly, but Mathers tightened his grip. "Resisting, huh? That's another charge," he hissed. A small crowd gathered, murmurs of concern growing among the onlookers. A woman pulled out her phone to record. "You're making a mistake," Jada pleaded, tears stinging her eyes. But Mathers wasn't listening. He had already made up his mind. He hauled her toward the squad car, pushing her inside roughly. Jada's mind raced. There had to be a way out of this nightmare. But little did Officer Mathers know. He had just arrested the wrong girl. Her father wasn't just any man. He was a CIA agent. And when he found out, the entire precinct was going to learn what it meant to mess with the Williams family. Inside the squad car, Jada's breath came in short, panicked gasps. The cold steel of the handcuffs bit into her wrists, and the inside of her mouth felt dry as sand. She had seen cases like this in the news before. Innocent people wrongfully accused, their lives torn apart by racial profiling. But she never imagined she would become one of them. Mathers sat in the driver's seat, smugly tapping on his laptop. "You've got a record, don't you?" he mused, pretending to search the system. Jada shot him a glare. "I've never even had a speeding ticket. This is illegal, and you know it." Mathers scoffed. Yeah, they all say that." She gritted her teeth. Stay calm, think. Her father had trained her for moments like these. Never panic in a crisis. Always think 3 steps ahead. Taking a deep breath, she turned her head toward the window, catching sight of her phone lying on the pavement. She had dropped it when Mathers grabbed her. The screen was still on, a call in progress. A call with her father. Miles away, deep inside a high-security intelligence facility, Agent Samuel Williams sat in a soundproof office, monitoring classified operations on a secure line. Then he heard his daughter's terrified voice. What? What did I do?" His entire body went rigid. "Hands behind your back. Now." A muscle in his jaw twitched. He recognized the tone in that cop's voice. Aggression, prejudice, arrogance. "I was just buying books." Then came a scuffle, a pained gasp. Samuel was already on his feet, his mind working at lightning speed. He tapped into the agency's secure system, pulling up live surveillance footage of downtown Chicago within seconds. His blood boiled when he saw the scene, a white officer forcing his daughter into the back of a police car, while bystanders recorded in horror. Big mistake. Samuel didn't just work for the CIA, he was the CIA, and someone was about to regret their career choices. Mathers slammed the car door shut and turned to his partner, Officer Brian Colt, who had been watching the scene unfold from a few steps away. "Another one off the streets," Mathers muttered smugly. Colt shifted uncomfortably. "Greg, are you sure about this? She doesn't seem like a threat." Mathers rolled his eyes. "She fits the description. That's all that matters." Jada sat silently in the back seat, her mind racing. He thinks he's untouchable. She wished she could see Mathers' face when he realized just how wrong he was. Across town, Samuel Williams moved like a ghost through the CIA facility, his fingers flying over his phone's screen as he made a secure call. "This is Agent Williams. I need a location trace and immediate local law enforcement override. Chicago PD, District 12. Now." A pause. Then, "Yes, sir. Activating now." Samuel didn't waste time. He had spent his life dismantling criminal organizations, uncovering government conspiracies, and negotiating with foreign operatives. A dirty cop? Child's play. His next call was to a high-ranking official in the Chicago Police Department. "You have exactly 5 minutes to fix this before I bring the full weight of the agency down on your department." As Mathers pulled out of the parking lot, his police radio crackled. "Unit 12, stand down immediately. Suspect is to be released. Orders from higher up." Mathers frowned, gripping the radio. "Repeat that." "Stand down. Release the suspect. Now." Jada lifted her head. That was fast. "What the hell?" Mathers muttered. Then his phone buzzed. He checked the screen and his face went pale. Unknown number, but the message was chilling. "Let her go. You're being watched." Jada smirked. "Oh, Dad, you work fast." Mathers' hands tightened around the steering wheel as his mind raced. How the hell had someone intervened this quickly? He turned to Colt, his voice laced with tension. "Did you call this in?" Colt shook his head, his unease growing. "No, man. But maybe we should listen. If higher-ups are involved." Mathers slammed the brakes, making Jada jolt forward in the back seat. He turned around, his anger barely contained. "Who the hell do you think you are?" he hissed at her. Jada met his glare without fear. "I told you I wasn't just some random girl." Mathers' jaw clenched. His phone buzzed again. "Unknown number. You have exactly 2 minutes to let her go, or you'll regret it." A cold sweat broke out on his forehead. He was being watched. But how? Across town, Samuel sat in the back of a sleek black SUV, a live feed of the squad car's location displayed on a screen in front of him. His team had already hacked into the officers' phones, tracking every message, every movement. "They're stalling," one of his agents noted. Samuel's jaw tensed. "Then let's give them some motivation." He nodded at the agent, who swiftly pulled up a database and executed a command. Inside the police car, Mathers' phone dinged again. This time, it wasn't a message. It was a suspension notice. Mathers' face turned sheet white as he read the notification. Effective immediately, Officer Greg Mathers was under internal investigation. His badge access was revoked, his salary was frozen, and below that a personal message, "I warned you." Colt's eyes widened as he noticed his own phone buzzing. He glanced down. He was suspended too. Mathers cursed under his breath and turned to Jada, pure rage burning in his eyes. "Get out!" Jada raised an eyebrow. "Excuse me?" "I said get out!" he roared, unlocking the back door. Jada stepped out slowly, rubbing her wrists where the cuffs had been. Mathers leaned in close. "I don't know who you think you are, but you got lucky. This isn't over." Jada smirked. "Oh, I think it is." She turned her back on him and walked toward the street corner where a black SUV was pulling up. As the car door opened, Samuel stepped out, his presence commanding and unshaken. Mathers took a step back. No way. Samuel's cold stare locked onto him. "Officer Mathers, you just made the worst mistake of your career." Mathers swallowed hard as Samuel Williams strode toward him, his sharp gaze unwavering. The air was thick with tension. Colt instinctively took a step back, recognizing that they had stepped into something far beyond their control. Samuel stopped just inches from Mathers. His voice was calm but carried an undeniable weight. "Tell me, Officer Mathers, do you usually arrest innocent people? Or was this just a special occasion?" Mathers straightened his back, trying to mask his fear. "She fit the description. I was doing my job." Samuel chuckled, but there was no humor in it. "Your job? Right. And is racial profiling also in your job description?" Mathers bristled. "Look, I don't know who you think you are, but—" Samuel held up a hand, cutting him off. You know exactly who I am. And let me make this clear. You're finished. Mather's face darkened. You can't just, "Oh, but I can." Samuel took a step closer. Your record is already being pulled. Every single complaint against you, every questionable arrest, every excessive force report, it's all being sent to the press as we speak. Mathers felt the blood drain from his face. Samuel leaned in, his voice dropping to a whisper. You think you're untouchable? Let me teach you something, officer. Power isn't in a badge. It's in who controls the narrative. And right now, I control yours. Colt took another step back, sweat forming on his brow. He had never seen Mathers look shaken before. This is insane, Mathers finally blurted. You can't just... Samuel turned to one of his agents, who had been standing silently behind him. Remind Officer Mathers of his new reality. The agent held up a tablet, displaying a live news broadcast. Breaking news. Chicago police officer under investigation for wrongful arrests and civil rights violations. Mathers' mouth went dry. The screen showed his photo, along with a list of complaints against him. The story had already gone public. You. Mathers took a step back, his confidence shattering. Me, Samuel said coolly. Consider this your last warning. If you ever abuse your badge again, I'll make sure you never wear one again. Mathers had no words. He turned to Colt, but his partner was already backing away, realizing that their careers were over. Samuel turned to Jada. Come on, sweetheart. Let's go home. Jada smirked at Mathers one last time before stepping into the SUV. As the car pulled away, Mathers stood frozen in place, watching his entire world crumble around him. And for the first time in his life, he understood what true power looked like.